Hi, my name is Felice, and I'm the Happy Star Wars Guy. And today's episode, we're going to continue to explore the expanded universe and talk about Star Wars Fate of the Jedi. Fate of the Jedi is a really great series, and it was this series that ended perfectly for Disney to create a story arc to to continue the Star Wars Skywalker saga. And I was hoping when Disney announced that they were going to make a continued trilogy, that they were going to base it at the end of this Star Wars book series to have continuity in the expanded universe. However, what they did was they made this story part of the legends and completely dismissed everything that happened in this book somewhat. And I'll get to the somewhat part. And here's why. In this book series, we are exploring the fact that the New Republic has less confidence in the Jedi because of Darth Caedus. Like I explained in the last episode of the book review for 9 books, basically, of Legacy of the Force, we find out that Jason Solo, a powerful Jedi, becomes a Darth Caedus, a Dark Lord of the Sith, and it really disturbs the New Republic. And so the New Republic end up exiling Luke Skywalker. Rather, Luke Skywalker actually says, "Hey, I'll exile myself as a Grand Master and I'll leave." And so he leaves the Jedi Temple and goes on an expedition with Ben Skywalker. They travel throughout the galaxy to kind of follow in the footsteps of where Jason Solo had traveled. And Luke had actually shared with Jason Solo some locations for him to explore the Force. So Luke and Ben try to retrace Jason Solo's steps so they can figure out what exactly turned him to the dark side. What was it? They wanted to find out what it is that they can educate the Jedi so they can bring balance to the Force so that they don't end up creating more Sith. But in the meantime, they find out that there's this world that Sith live on. And they are... there's just so much in this series to talk about. So that's why I call this a highlight video. So in this series, Luke is in exile. Luke wields the Force like no other Jedi in the history of the Jedi Order. Honestly, the amount of power that he wields as a light side Force user is incredible. In this series, we also find out there's a planet that the Sith have lived on for hundreds of years in the shadows and kept to themselves. We also find out that there's a ship, the ship that is guiding both the light and the dark side users to this Force spirit, this Force essence called Abeloth, and it's a dark Force essence. And what we find out is that here's where there's an interesting crossover into the Clone Wars, and I believe it was Clone Wars Season 5, where Anakin Skywalker and Ben Kenobi find themselves, along with Ahsoka, on this mysterious planet that isn't on the charts, and it's a Force planet that has the light and the dark side on it. And there's a brother and a sister, and the brother embodies the dark, the sister embodies the light, and the father embodies the balance to create a holy trinity of Force users. What we find out is Abeloth is the mother of those children. And it's really interesting, and I can't wait to see how this story unfolds in the Disney productions, because the Clone Wars touch on this. Star Wars Rebels touches on this, where they have hieroglyphs of these Force users. And in fact, I think there's a comic book that actually shares some of that information that was recently published. So they're really exploring this planet, even though this planet is mentioned in the legends, but they've ended up creating it canon in essence because it's been in Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels now. So in this book series, the Sith users and the Jedi have to collaborate, and not to spoil too much, but Ben ends up kind of falling for Vestra, who is the Sith user that is attached to the ship that guides them to Abeloth. And Abeloth is quite a force to be reckoned with, but they end up destroying Abeloth, bringing balance again to the universe, and Jaina, the series ends with Jaina Solo getting married to Jagged Fel. And Jagged Fel is the son of Baron Fel, who was a TIE fighter in the Old Republic, or in the Empire, and he ends up being a reoccurring character in some of the later books, and it all started with the Yuuzhan Vong Wars. But we see Jagged Fel and Jaina's romance build up through the Dark Nest trilogy, the Legacy of the Force, and then it concludes with a wedding in Fate of the Jedi, which is why I thought it would be really cool originally if Disney would make continuity of that storyline and give us a whole new story following Jaina Solo getting married, and Luke and Ben having this bonding time in the absence of Mara Jade because she was knocked off in Legacy of the Force. Sorry to spoil that. It's really intriguing to find out why. So I hope I gave you some nuggets to encourage you to check out this book series. I really enjoyed it. It really, again, just brought great joy to hear these stories of the magnitude of how the Force can be used, the magnitude of how deep the Sith lore is, and how much we still don't know about the Star Wars universe because it's so big, so vast, that a whole planet can have Force users on it and go undisturbed by both the Jedi and even Emperor Palpatine, which is really weird if you think about it. But it was an enjoyable series. I hope you like it. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this YouTube highlight of the 9-book series, Fate of the Jedi. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and may the Force be with you.